Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for the cut file crew. And the cut file we're using is for a free one by Paper Issues. I've cut it twice in white cardstock. I've cut the surround for the you and me, and then I've cut a piece to go behind that. I'm working on an A4 size, so I've got a piece of white cardstock behind both of these cut files. I've chosen a photograph. I'm going to pop it in one of the spaces, but to start off I'm using a pencil and I'm going to draw around the letters onto the solid white cardstock at the back. The Cut File Crew, we are a monthly group of crafters on Instagram, and we're all designing every month with a different free cut file, which means that you too can use it and hopefully find some inspiration within the team and be inspired to use it and get another layout in your album. So do look us up on Instagram. So I've gone through all of my Shimelle Lane collections and I've picked out a lot of the embellishments. And what I've done, I've got them in the tray there. I've picked out all the pinky reds and all the bluey teals. And I'm going to use, that's the colours that I'm going to use, mainly embellishments. And I've got some of the 6x6 papers as well that if they've got small icons I can cut out. So I'm coming in with some Distress Oxides and a brush, and I'm actually just inking up the shapes that I drew in pencil. I was originally going to put pattern paper at the back of these letters, but actually I don't think there's much that's going to show, so rather than have stark white cardstock, I'm coming in with some inks and I'm just brushing them into those shapes. Try not to overlap them, but I'm going to just overlap the pencil lines just a touch, so that when I put it all together at the end you don't see any glaringly obvious bits. So I've just added that back in. A bit of a glitch with the camera, so I've actually started to stick some of the ephemera on top of the letters, but I'm going to be doing plenty more of it so you're not missing out at all. So I'm going to do a column of blue on the right and a column of the pink and red on the left. I do keep bringing in the top layer just to make sure that I wanted to be able to see the mountain tops, for example. I wanted to be able to see the handlebars of the scooter. I've got a globe in the E, and I definitely want to see the let's go on an adventure. I'm now going to put the photo in the ampersand at the top right, so I won't need much in there, but there are going to be some bits around the photo you'll see. So I've stuck a big piece of ephemera up there, but I hope you can see the way this is coming together. So a good few years ago now, I designed for Shimelle for a whole year, which was absolutely fabulous. It was lovely to be asked to do that. And she's launching a new range, and it's main character energy from American Crafts. And so it kind of inspired me to dig out my older ranges. I mean, I'm sure you could help me, but I think there could be 10 or 12 previous collections. I mean, that's just awesome, really, isn't it? The ones I'm using here, I've definitely got some True Stories. In fact, the piece in my hand I think is True Stories. I've definitely got some Go Now Go. I remember using lots of that. I also use Starshine. Do you remember that? But there's loads of others, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some out. But I remember Little by Little, Head in the Clouds, Field Trip. I'm sure that got like bugs and things in it. Never Grow Up. Sparkle City, wasn't that like a purpley base colour for that? Box of Crayons, now that was more recent. Was there a Glitter Girl one as well? So by my reckoning, I think I've got at least 10 that I've listed there, but I think there might have been a couple more. If you remember one that I've forgotten, by all means add it in the bottom. But generally, when a range or collection isn't current, I tend to store them by designer. So I knew where to find all my Shimelle stuff, so it was very easy to dip into that box, pull out all the bits and pieces to start making this layout. But I just thought, actually, with the new collection on its way, it inspired me to get out some of the older ones. You can see some half flowers there. They came out of a pattern paper. These Polaroids, they're out of a pattern paper. So technically it's not just ephemera that I'm using, but anything that's going to actually fill the shapes. There's a couple of balloon icons there. I cut out the colours that I want, and I'm going to just tuck bits in There's some coffee cups there. So a lot of the things in the pictures are loosely connected to my photograph. So if that makes sense. I mean, obviously it looks like a complete eclectic mix of stuff, and it is, don't get me wrong. And I think it's a really good way to use up ephemera, particularly when you've got a mix of collections like this, or you've got some bigger pieces that you think that you may not use elsewhere. But earlier this year, my husband and I both rode on scooters. We've been up mountains. We love to travel. There's a number of camera icons. I've got an obsession with photographs. My port phone is... there's thousands of photos on my phone. My husband's a coffee drinker. There's a typewriter there. You know, there's just lots of little things that I would actually think are connected to us. The globe particularly, let's go on an adventure, enjoy the journey. You know, I mean, obviously these relate to lots of people, but I just think actually they fit with us too. And it's a photo of my husband and I. But when I finish at the end, the layout is all connected with celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary earlier this year, and the photograph was taken on our wedding anniversary. I used the colours from the photograph. We're both wearing blue and red, because actually our wedding anniversary was the same weekend as the King's coronation, so we were being patriotic and we were wearing red, white and blue, and that's where the colour scheme for the ephemera has come from, if all of that makes sense. So this original cut file I'm now going to glue over the top of the other one, and that will make more sense in just a moment. So I've just some tiny little drops of glue so I can just get that in position, and I'm going to leave that to dry. So I'm actually going to stitch around all of these letters and shapes, and the reason for sticking the cut file on top is actually it gives extra strength to the edges of these. Otherwise, like the triangle bits in the M and the down bit in the U would be like really floppy and be quite difficult to actually poke the holes in and then go back in and stitch. So by having that double layer of cardstock, not only does it emphasise, and it will emphasise the stitching and the edges of the shapes, it does make it much more stable to actually sew on. I'm not going to do any fancy stitches. I'm only going to do back stitch because I don't want it to be too thick around the letters, but I do want it to stand out a little. You can see the cottons on the right that I think I'm going to use. The pink actually turns out to be a bit brighter than the blue when I've sewn it, but hey, you know, it's fine. But I was trying to find ones that were tonal with the actual ephemera that I'd picked. So I'm just using a pokey tool here. I think it was from Pergamano. Do you remember that hobby? And I've actually, off camera, I've sewn all the pink. And then off camera, I've sewn the blue after doing that. I tend to do all my hand sewing in front of the TV or in the evenings. So that's what I did last night. So this is some children's craft foam just from a general craft shop. And I'm going to cut it into pieces. So because I want to lift this layer off the ephemera. Now you can use foam pads and that's absolutely fine, but it just ends up being thousands of bits of foam pads. And then you've got to pick all the paper off as well. So you can get sticky foam, craft foam, but I haven't got any. So I'm just cutting it into shapes. I thought I'd need 2 pieces, but in fact the purple was enough. You're not going to see it in the end result. And I'm just trimming it to fit between all the bits of the cut file so that actually it's supported when I start to put it all together. So this is just a really easy job, but actually it will make a difference and lift big parts of it. I do try to cut as big a pieces as I can. That's why there's triangles in the corners and stuff, because I want that top layer of cardstock to feel supported. And I'm just going to use double-sided tape to stick it to the back of the cardstock, and then double-sided tape on top of the phone to stick it to the bottom layer. So if you get a chance, do check out the Cut File crew. As I say, we're on Instagram. It's usually the last Sunday of the month. Scrapbookers based all over Europe, so I really would recommend you check us out. So I've stuck it all together, so there's some nice depth there, as you can see. I'm really pleased with how that's looking, and I'm just going to finish it off. So I'm bringing in some extra bits and pieces. I'm going to slip a little title in there next to the photograph, and just that little bit of chipboard as well from another Shimelle range. So I'm just going to make this look like a banner at the end. It says congratulations, and I'm actually going to handwrite on there 30 years married, which we celebrated, as I say, earlier this year. So that's all stuck down, and I think that's enough. So thank you so much for watching. Here's some close-ups and the finished layout. I hope you like what you see. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you'd like, and I hope to see you here real soon. Bye for now.